everyone, welcome back. It's Candid Conversations with two professional photographers. So today with Bill again, Bill's going to be talking about, we're going to pull some things out of the bucket over here. It's all wedding related, business related, advice related in the wedding and business industry all together. So there should be enough for everyone inside of there. And also we have a sponsor of the episode. It's from I Do Love a Rental. So we're going to talk about them later on in the video. So we're going to have Bill start with the first paper out of the bucket.
Here we go. Exploring different photography styles and genres.
Styles, go with the styles first. Don't worry about the genres yet. Go with the styles.
The styles as in light and airy,
dark and moody. Yeah. And basically it's filters. It's basically filters because everybody shoots the same in the camera. They just edit differently in post. So there's light and airy, dark and moody. Then there's sepia. There's a real big sepia trend now, and a very
sepia bride.
Yeah, and don't even go there. The very brown tones, which is not all sepia. It's more brownish tones inside of there. So my take on it is, if you look at my website and you are a sepia bride or a light and airy vibe of a client, I'm not your guy.
Me as well.
I'm not your guy. And I tell people, they might have heard from me from so-and-so. That's great. Thank you very much. Go to my website. If you don't like my style, I'm not the right person.
Right.
If you say I've already looked and I like it, then we can have a conversation. So I feel like styles will stick around for a long time because everybody is an individual and they like what they like.
Right.
What happens is light and airy can stick around for a long time. You might not see it as much in the future like you did in the past, but it's definitely a style all its own. It's like in its own category also.
It is different.
It is different.
You know, I see some of those photos and to me, personally, they're blown out. But that's the style.
Correct. Agree. And again, this is just our opinion. When you shoot that way and I shoot this way, to us, light and airy looks blown out or overexposed.
I mean, there's some faces you can't even see the edge.
The edging, right. Now, some people like that. Some people might not like the dark and moody, which I feel like you and I kind of gravitate more to because that's more of an off-camera flash style. But you can do off-camera flash without being dark and moody. I'm not saying that.
Right.
There's the balance in the ambient and the flash all together. But the whole, I love black and white. And I feel like that's a whole nother style also. I only know one photographer that shoots nothing but black and white. Nothing but black and white.
Massachusetts photographer?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Really, really good and creative in what he does. Really, really good.
And a Nikon user.
Okay. All right. We'll get it. We're going to put in the bucket brands next time because I didn't add that one.
Okay.
But styles, I feel like, are good for everybody's different. I don't want somebody to come to me and say, hey, Ron, I love the creativity that you have, but I want the images to be light and airy. I'm not going to do it.
Right.
I probably would not end up doing that. My style is my style. My style is my brand. I'm not even going to answer that.
I'd screw it up. I don't know how to do that.
I agree because there's a lot of muted greens in that. And if you don't mute the greens right, so my suggestion is, friend or not, if you like the light and airy, find the person that does that. If you like the dark and moody, find the person that does that. If you like the black and white, find the person that does that.
Unless you ship your editing to overseas, which that's not me. I have. Well, that's probably that's probably a paper.
I feel like it is because editing is a whole nother animal.
Right.
Right now, we're just talking about a style.
Right.
Before you even pick the camera up, when you hire that person, make sure the style that you like is what they do. Don't ask them to do something outside of their style.
100%.
Yep. Done. All right. Perfect. Gone.
Right.
My turn.
Go ahead.
All right. Photographing difficult subjects. Difficult subjects could be individuals. It could be environments.
Right.
Okay. Difficult subjects in the sense of,
are the subjects difficult to work with, or is it a difficult,
photographing difficult subjects? So let's not go into if they're difficult. So let's be very careful how we address anything that we're going to say, because I'll have people say, Ron, we like you. We need somebody to pose us because we don't know what we're doing. We've never been posed. We don't know what we're doing. That happens all the time.
Right.
I point to my wall behind me and I say, hey, do any of them look awkward to you? I was like, no, none of them have been photographed before either. So that's my job, is to make people feel comfortable.
Right.
So I'm going to address this not in any regards to the size of the person. It's just make them feel comfortable in themselves.
Right.
If I say, if somebody I can tell is a little bit more awkward or a little bit more standoffish or a little bit more shy, I tell people, or I'll shoot a little bit more candid. Mm-hmm. So I will have them looking at each other. I will have them kissing each other. I will have them walking with each other, walking away from me, walking towards me, looking at each other. And then every once in a while, I'll have them kind of look at me for a good straight on posed picture.
Kind of toss that in every...
Correct. So difficult subjects, let's just look at it as in a way of being uncomfortable. People have never been photographed, because I don't want to get into people that are.
I have that all the time when, and you have too, I'm sure, when you do senior shoots. With boys and stuff like that. Well, I don't know how to stand along a fence. Well, if you're with your boys at back, wherever you are, just stand like you would stand. And they do, and I'm like, that's perfect.
That's it.
They know what to do.
Yeah.
Just when that camera comes out, they freeze up.
That's the intimidation part of it. So do you pose? Do you actually? I do this, and when my wife was with me or somebody was with me, I feel like when I'm trying to pose a woman like a woman, I will show them how to curve their legs.
I do too, and I get laughed at.
But we do that because
my wife laughs at it, but I have to. You have to do that. If they don't
see you, they're looking at you. They need to know how to shape their body, kind of thing like that. Bending one leg, one hand on the hip, always having your hand on your lap or on your hip or something like that. Never having your arm not touching something. So always having. If you're intimidated or shy, hold him like you like him. Just wrap your arms around him, and I'll take care of the rest.
But sometimes that lightens stuff up too, because
correct.
If the girl or woman is trying to figure this out, and you're doing it, and you're kind of, look at me, okay. So it kind of adds a little bit of humor, and they start to relax a little bit. Make stuff smooth.
Good. All right, your turn.
All right. This one's skinny. Did you cut this with nail clippers?
That's the new one I just put in this morning. That's the one I didn't tell you about.
Oh, second shooter. All right. Second shooter.
Let's look at it. What would be 3 things if somebody approached you today that wanted to get into the wedding industry? What would be 3 tips?
I would say second shoot for somebody.
How long? Minimum of?
I would say, I may be high. I'd say a minimum. It depends how busy. I'd say at least a year, maybe.
100%. I feel like that's fair, because let's say you second shoot 10 times in 1 year.
It depends.
It's not 1 year's time. Oh my God, that's 365 days. No, that's just 10 weddings in 1 year. If you could do more than that, that'd be great. But that's good advice. So advice number 1 is second shoot for a year.
Make sure you know the equipment.
Your own equipment.
And the main photographer's equipment.
Fair point.
Because if you're the main photographer, hey, go set up my light stand. And you're fumbling around
but as a primary, I would show my second shooter how to set it up.
But in a pinch, you want to be smooth.
Exactly.
Good communication.
We'll put those 2 together. What would be your 3rd?
Oh God, 3rd.
Know your gear. Know how to set up gear. Yours and theirs, and second shoot for a year.
And I'd say pretty much know where to go. Don't get in anybody's way. You're with the main photographer. You may have a video person there. Don't be so eager. You're stepping in front of people.
Know your surroundings.
Right. And just take a breath. And look around and see what you have.
My first advice would be, I agree. I feel like second shooting for a year minimum would be sufficient. And before you even, with other photographers also, reach out to other photographers so you get different style of photography. You get different personalities of teachers and individuals showing you. Some might be better than others when it comes to showing you. And in that, definitely learning for at least a year to do that. We covered this on the last episode, that just buying a camera and going out and taking a picture of somebody and you get $50 for it doesn't make you a business owner.
Right.
Know your limitations. Don't take off more than you can chew. Right. Don't take off more than you can chew. Don't get yourself in a situation where you're doing somebody's wedding and your memory card fails.
Right. And then you don't have a backup.
And you don't have a backup.
Now what?
Backup camera or backup.
Now
so
what?
Anyways, all right. So that would be my first advice. I agree with you. Second shoot for a year, and use multiple photographers. Networking would be my next advice for networking with other fellow photographers. And that doesn't. I would even include this, not just second shooting for weddings, but you can also second shoot for and assist when somebody's doing a family session, holding a light and things like that, a high school senior. Second shoot, the more you hang around with other like-minded photographers, the more you start to think and other things. I can't see everything. When I bring my second shooter with me, I always ask them, hey, if you see something, let me know. Show me something.
You're not a potato. You don't have eyes around your head.
No,
so
it's just be aware of your surroundings, and I'm open to that, having other people show me other stuff. And the other thing would be, figuring out the style that you want to do.
That you want to gravitate
That you want to gravitate to. And we're going to talk about editing and editing softwares another time. But that would be my advice for second shooting when it comes to that. Do it for a long time before you even try and do something on your own.
And every photographer, you pick something up.
100%. Good and bad.
You may do something different than I do something. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. My turn.
Knock them out of the book.
Let's not fall out. All right. The influence of Instagram and social media on photography trends. Sepia bride. Okay? Let's talk about something else then, because I feel like everybody's talking about that. And influence of Instagram. Just let's call in social media.
Okay.
On photo trends.
I think it distorts a lot of perspective.
100%.
Okay, because I'll have a photo shoot. Oh, can you make my skin, basically plastic looking?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I can, but I'm not going to do it.
And I don't feel like that's a trend. I feel like that's a person's individual's, I don't want to say insecurity, but the way that they feel about themselves. Because I work with a lot of people that don't have good skin. And I'll tweak and make it the best I can, but you're not Barbie. You're right.
You don't want it to look like this table.
You're right. Okay? So photography trends and social media, we talked about this last time. It is the highlight reel of everybody's life. I will have a bride say, oh my God, can you do this? Or I saw this on whatever, and I'd like to duplicate that. And they show this big production reel on Instagram and how it was all put together. And it looks amazing. You're in a barn.
Right.
And that was done on a beach. You're not going to get the same look, although we're going to try and get the same things behind that. But social media, I've had people send me like 5 pages of their Pinterest board with every pose under the sun. And I feel like, and I tell them this, I can only do so many of them. And what I would say to them is, this is a photography trend right now. Hey, can you do this? Can we do this pose? Can we do this pose? And can we do this pose? Yes. Tell you what, how about if we take it and look at it and let's tweak it and make it
your own.
Your own. And I feel like that's where I want to say, I will if somebody shows me that. And I don't feel like it's copying that photographer's style.
Right.
The bride comes to you saying, hey, we'd like to duplicate this. That's awesome. Let's duplicate it, but let's twist it a little bit. Let's make it our own a little bit. Let's add a twist in there. Let's add a bow in there. Let's add a bouquet toss in there. Something else that's different.
You want to use that as a guideline.
Catapult. Yeah, guideline.
As a kind of a guideline.
Yeah.
I agree. It's
But social media, you can go everywhere and you can see everything, and it's all amazing. But we as photographers are limited by time. You can't give me 75 poses, and we've got 4 minutes left before dinner's gonna start.
Right.
There's
and
gotta
like
be,
you said, you want a beach sunset, yet you're in a horse barn.
Yeah.
No, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. You just got to figure that part out. But definitely the influence of social media and Instagram, it really is. These brides are just saving images after images after images after images, and then they expect the photographer to even know how to do it.
Right.
Okay, let's give some advice now. Hey, brides and grooms, if you have poses that you want to try and duplicate, show your photographer before you hire them. Because if you hire that person and you pay them the deposit and they're not capable or creative enough to duplicate that, you're going to be very disappointed at the end.
Right.
You're going to be very disappointed at the end.
You're not going to get what you want.
You're not going to get what you want. And that's the safest way to say that is you really need to find out what your photographer's
and will the pose look good in that particular environment you're taking the photo in.
Good point.
It may not even work.
Good point. Good point.
Oh, I want this pose along sitting on the fence with my fiance in front. Yeah. Well, there's no fence.
And the fence is a wrought iron fence or a different kind. So there's just realistic guidelines that need to stay into. So let's just address it like that. Yes, there's social trends. Yes, there's Instagram trends. Yes, there's photography trends. If that's what the bride and grooms want to do, they just need to stay within the confines of your venue.
Yes.
You need to stay within the realms of what's possible
and
what's capable. All right, so now we're going to talk about our sponsor of the episode. It's I Do Love a Rental. So if you're getting married and you're looking at, or even an event that you're looking at, Karen and Jessica both have I Do Love a Rental. They have everything rentable for your wedding or event. They have green walls. They have a foosball table. They have a donut wall. They have a pretzel wall. They have all kinds of things you can use for your centerpieces and things like that. So I strongly suggest that if you're looking for anything rental for your event and or your wedding, even a bridal shower, baby shower, bachelorette party, anything like that, check them out. All their information is going to be down below.
It'll save you some money.
Yeah, do it yourself. It'll save yourself the time. Hire them, do their stuff, rent their stuff. They can either deliver it for you or you pick it up and then you bring it back. And it saves you so much time. You don't have to worry about doing anything yourself. You pick it up and you drop it off and you're done. That's it. So check out I Do Love a Rental. All their information is going to be down below.
Zoom versus prime lenses. Okay, well, we've shot in dark spots before where the Zoom 2.8s, they're not going to cut it.
No. They're good. But you just got to bump the ISO up to compensate. So that's not that they're bad.
It's not that they're bad.
If you're going to have to buy a lens, buy a 2.8.
But if you had a 1.8
correct
in a dark
your
or a 1.4,
next investment
1.2
would be getting your primes.
Right.
I always tell people start with your zoom lenses first because they're most versatile. You're not going to be, if you're first starting out, you're not going to be in low light situations where you need it like you and I did.
Right.
I got hired for that wedding because I photographed at that venue before.
So you kind of
knew, and they knew I knew the area and the situations, and they had images to show them. So a prime lens, 1.2, 1.4, 1.8, 24, 35, 50 or 55, and 85 are the normal prime lenses when it comes to that. So with a prime, there's no zooming back and forth. You're at a fixed thing except for your feet. A lot of times, I shoot zooms just because I don't want to move. Because the more you move, the more somebody sees you moving.
The more you draw attention to yourself.
The more you draw attention to yourself. So if you've got a 24 millimeter and you've got to go all the way to the front to get a close of them giving that first kiss or going in for that ring, you just watched everybody else watch you come walking up to the front. So that's where I put a 24 on this side and I put an 85 on this side. So I can stand in the back and still get the close-up of that
even the
ring.
85, if you toss your camera in DX mode,
you have that crop sensor. That's a whole nother subject, and I agree with you 100%.
You'll get that little bit extra.
Yes, but not everybody knows and understands the crop sensor part. Because yes, you'll get the zoom, you lose megapixels.
Right. So you go from like 47 or 50
for you.
Because I got the Z8.
If I've got a 24 megapixel camera, which
You'll cut it down to 12.
Cuts it down to 12. That cuts. You just have to be. So now if somebody's like, oh my God, I love that shot. We want to make it a 45, 4-foot print. You're not going to be able to do that. So you got to be careful with the crop part, because that can come back and bite you in the butt later on if they want a bigger image of that. So the benefits of a prime is the low light situations. You can be at 1.4, 1.8 and get more light into the sensor and have your ISO only about 800. Okay. That same scenario lighting situation, you've got a zoom lens of 2.8, your ISO is going to be 1600, 1800, 2500, or 2000. So I don't like that. For me, it's always been like my thing. I just strongly avoid it at all costs, anything above 16 ISO, 1600 ISO. Oh, not because the cameras can't handle it nowadays, because they can. I just always grew up with when I started teaching myself, I always, back in the film days, I always ISO with the grain and the noise ends up being a smaller or a little bit more of a deteriorated image. Right. Okay. So that's a whole nother trend also, is film photography and having that noise and grainy stuff in there too. So my suggestion is, if you can afford it, have the primes in your back pocket, in your bag, so when you get to that church or that venue, you're like, ooh, okay.
Always bring them, because you don't want to be surprised. You walk in there and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, you never know. I always bring all my zooms and all my primes. Yep. And that way I'm covered either way with that. So if you were giving somebody advice on just buying a, not camera, lens, what would you say, what would be, okay, and they're photographing family. So before you say it depends on what they're photographing, photographing family. They want to get into family photography and go to the park. What would be the first lens, zoom-wise, you would suggest?
Zoom-wise?
Zoom-wise first.
24-70.
Perfect. I agree 100%. Now, they've done a couple
But then
I
photographed family, it seemed like they had like 70 people. So I had my 14 to 24.
Yeah.
But a normal,
not everybody's going to buy a 14.
Family, right?
Correct.
Normal family, 24/7.
They want to get into photography, 24 to 70. I would definitely, if you can afford it, do the 2.8.
Yes.
Try to stay away from the f4. I know it's a better price and they got good glass, and I get that. But when you get to that whatever and you need that 2.8, you're going to have it.
Yes.
If you don't have it, you're going to regret it. And you just spent all the money for maybe $400 more, $500 more for the 2.8, buy the 2.8.
Right.
Then, now, they've been doing it for 6 months. They love it so much. What would be the next prime lens you would suggest them buying?
Family?
I would say still doing families.
I would say between a 24 and a 35. I like the 35.
All right, now they're families, but they got individuals at the end of the family session.
50.
I would say 50 or 85.
Yeah,
50 or 85, you will be safe with either one of them. The 50 will give you more versatility in the future. The 85 is going to give you a lot more limitations, but there's something about an 85, 1.4, 1.8 that just separates the background from them, and it just...
And then if you go 135, 105...
Yeah, exactly. And I don't have the 135, but I've got the Sigma 105.
I got my eye on one.
It's the beast. It's just,
the
glass is like that big. Thank you guys for coming back to the channel. If you guys have any comments or interest down below, any topics you guys want us to talk about, put them down in the comments down below. And that is now episode number 2. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.